The Speed Report is driven by BF Goodrich Tires.
Hello there, I'm Nicole. He's Drew. Possibly some mega news in American open wheel racing. Robin Miller will join us on that in just a bit. But first, what have you done the most of the last 24 hours?
Let me see. I don't know enough time.
I personally have spent much of the time in front of the TV. It's bad.
Yeah, it's a huge field at the Rolex you're talking about, Nicole. And for my money, the coolest lineup that you'll see in motorsports. You have guys from nearly every racing discipline in the mix at this thing. Michael Shank Racing on the front row to start, but 24 hours has a way of changing things from how we start a race.
A lot of cars, 66 of them started the 46th running of the Rolex 24 at Daytona. Green flag to cloudy skies and a few raindrops. Not a good sign for what's to come. Can't win the race in turn one, but you can lose it. Contact for the 14 GT car, forcing 3 cars to retire in minute 1. Lap 1, A.J. Allmendinger taking a huge lead over the field. The 6 car would lead more than 100 laps over the next 24 hours. Caution number 1, and it was an eventful day for those yellows. Debris on the track for Helio Castroneves. His blown tire takes the nose off that Penske Taylor Racing number 9 car. They lose a lap, but they get it back fairly quickly.
24 hours consolidated into 2 minutes. Salvador Duran's bodywork flies off after his cold tires lose grip. He goes into the soft grass. A few laps later, back on track, fell from second place to 4 laps down. Wayne Taylor in the 10 car running at the top of the field, can't fire his engine. His crew tries to push start him on pit road. GT's flying by. A couple of close calls can be very dangerous right there. He is now 4 laps down. More problems for the O2 car. Duran gets into a GT car, then fast forward a few laps into the soft grass again, spins while leading the race, and then co-driver Alex Lloyd gonna end up hitting the guardrail under caution. They're back in the garage for some work. On to the 99 car, Jimmie Vasser piloting right now, heads into the garage for work on his gearbox, hands the controls to NASCAR champion Jimmie Johnson.
Another car going to fall off the lead lap. Ryan Briscoe's engine starts to overheat, so the crew makes the repairs to keep the team in the hunt while Kurt Busch takes over driving duties for them. Probably the scariest moment of the race. João Barbosa in the lead. His rear suspension snaps, going to send him on a ride with no control. The car heads to the garage for some repairs. They get back out there. Then Justin Wilson running at the front of the pack goes just too wide, hits the curbing. His suspension snaps too. The team had been in contention, but after making fixes to the car, they finish 18 laps back, but still in 6th place.
How about the 6 car? More bad news from Michael Shank Racing. Brian Frizzell piloting the lead car, starts smoking, misses the bus stop. Rear suspension problems, he's in the garage. Now only 1 car on the lead lap, and that's the 01. NASCAR driver Juan Pablo Montoya piloting for a record 60 lead changes. Hey, it was a record-setting 3rd straight victory for Chip Ganassi and his guys. And how about Alex Gurney in a 6-lap lead over 3rd place Ryan Briscoe. Gurney in second was a 1-2-3 NASCAR co-driver championship in the GT class. Sylvain Tremblay taking 9th overall in the win for his class. Calvin Fish with more from Daytona.
Well, 2007 was a very special year for Dario Franchitti, but this year, mate, you taste the champagne early.
Yeah, to start 08 the way we finished 07 is pretty cool. It's just such a difficult race, and the team made it easy for us. They gave us a great car, ran reliably all day. All I did was try and make sure not to scratch the thing, but every time I went out on the track, it seemed to rain. But just delighted.
Superb job.
Thanks, mate.
Speed Source beats Porsche's streak at Daytona and gets Mazda their 22nd victory. Sylvain Tremblay, you've got to be happy, man.
It's unbelievable. I mean, this is over 4 years worth of work from a ton of people. The faith of a manufacturer, Mazda, a great little motor, and some unbelievable motor oil. So just so happy to be here at Daytona in victory lane with the Speed Source Mazda.
Pretty cool accomplishment for Ganassi Racing. 3 straight Rolex 24 wins. Much better way to start the year for the Gainesco crew. A 2nd place start for the reigning series champs Fogarty and Gurney, along with Jimmie Johnson and Jimmie Vasser. And welcome back Penske Racing, 35 years away. And the team comes back to finish 3rd place with Ryan Briscoe, Helio Castroneves, and Kurt Busch.
GT winners, as we keep looking at the results. Told you about Tremblay and his guys. Miller, George Jr. rounding out the top 5. Let's hear more sound.
You know, it's a matter of surviving and doing the right thing. Yeah, I don't think we had the fastest car, but I think we played it really smart in the way that every time I was in the car, I was 10-10 every time, and I drove 9 hours of the race. And it doesn't matter, you know, if you want to stay in the lead lap, you better push.
And we had some troubles around sunrise that with the transmission that kind of kept us out of the hunt at the end, but still with all the troubles, with that major trouble we had, plus we had some other small ones that really got us out of sequence throughout the day. To come back and finish second is a great accomplishment, and especially for the guys fighting for the championship with John and Alex, what they have ahead of them for the season. We're glad they're left here with good points. That's really the most important thing.
We wanted to keep the tires underneath us, and we did a really good job doing that. We didn't have any issues there. And with the changing conditions, it was pretty hard. But like Alex said, everybody did a fantastic job. Jimmie and Jimmie, it's awesome to run with these guys. Not only are they super quick, but they're super fun guys to hang around with. So it's good.
Interesting, Chip Ganassi saying his guy's not doing it for any extra money. I'm sure there's a few Rolexes involved and a lot of pride for those guys. We will have more from Daytona coming up later in this show. Well, the 24 hours might be up at the Rolex 24 at Daytona, but our crew calling the race still has a lot to talk about. First, though, let's show you how Chip Ganassi's guys made some history today. And we start with Scott Pruitt. Started the 24 hours in the middle of the pack after changing tires before the green flag. Driver changed, Dario Franchitti, and he starts to make his move. Problems with the O2 sister car sliding through the grass and having to head to the garage for a new front end. Only bad luck for Pruitt is when Michael Valiente got into him. No damage there. While leading the race, a scary moment here. Yao Barbosa has a ride of his life. Suspension snap, sends his hood flying, and he goes flying around on the track. Lead position goes to Brian Purcell until his suspension breaks at the bus stop and he has to nurse it to the pits. Now Juan Montoya would be the only car on the lead lap, takes over the lead. One last pit stop and driver change to secure a third straight Rolex 24 championship. Scott Pruitt driving to the checkered flag, and there are the guys at Ganassi, Target Chip Ganassi Racing, celebrating the big win. Lee Diffey, Dorsey Schroeder in Daytona.
This year's Rolex 24 at Daytona was a record-setting day for a variety of reasons. Of course, Chip Ganassi with Felix Sabates Racing, they got the three-peat, 3 successive wins overall and in the DP class, and it was a mighty effort. No one's done that in the 46-year history of this event. Other records that were set, 24 caution periods over 95 laps and a massive 60 lead changes across 15 drivers. Dario Franchitti said after the race that he felt his job was to keep that 0-1 car clean, no scratches, don't damage it. Do you think that was one of the contributing factors?
Well, I do. I'll tell you what, because of the weather that they had to go through, normally I would assess one of these things 50-50. 50% of what the team did to get the car going and the strategy they pulled, 50% of the driver. But I give more to the drivers this time because last night with all the rain coming and going and so forth, it would have been very easily to get off the road, crash the car. We saw so many guys that did it. The 0-1 car kept going, didn't have to give the extra workload to the Ganassi guys. Let them be able to think about the situations, the pit stops, and to win this race.
They led the last 100 laps. In fact, they led about a third of the race, but it was one of those races where there was no clear-cut dominating car right until the very end. Let's switch gears to GT because Mazda, it was a great day for them in their RX-8 and a Florida team, Speed Source Engineering, because they broke Porsche's 9-year consecutive winning streak to grab the GT class. That was fantastic.
The little team that could. I really have my hats off to these guys. They're the real clear winner of this deal. They won by 5 laps, by the way. So they had their car running perfectly all night. They got backed into once they got hurt in the back end. They fixed it, and the rest of the time that little Mazda just chugged on down the road.
The top 2 teams at the end of last year's championship in the Daytona prototype class finished the top 2 in class here. And TRG, they came here with 7 GT cars, and they finished 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So some very good individual efforts here today. Next round of the series, 2 months' time at Miami Homestead Speedway.
Well, we've just begun to whet your appetite for Daytona racing, and the Rolex, of course, got the season started in style. But you know what that means? It means the 100 hours of Sprint Cup coverage has begun. Speed's got you covered from now until the end of the Daytona 500. Coverage from Daytona starts on February 2nd.
You know what? The last couple years in this show have been a lot of fun. Thank you. And thank you at home. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
It's been a pleasure to work with you, and thanks for inviting Nicole and I into your living rooms. We say goodbye for the final time as hosts of the Speed Report here on Speed.
You've been watching The Speed Report, driven by BF Goodrich Tires.